So this is my third vlog. Um, I don't really know what I'm gonna talk about, but I've been thinking about talking about contentment. Um, I was thinking, what I really want in life is contentment. Um, and I happen to think that the key to feeling contentment is to satisfy your mind. I think everything has at its source the mind, or is deeply connected to the mind. Even love, hate, anger, depression, sadness, embarrassment, disgust, surprise. They're all deeply related to the mind if you think about it. It's like how you're thinking about something is what produces your feelings about something, or your feelings about the present moment. Um, I think that if you had the right perspective, the right mental framework, you would have you would be happy. You would basically just be happy. Just like I for example, I gave this example in my first video. It's like if you thought that nothing in life matters and that was your mental framework, your mentality, that could produce happiness in theory if you really believed it, I guess. But I don't think it ever works. Maybe that's a example of why you shouldn't really think that mentality can lead to happiness. I still think it does, but you know, thinking nothing in life matters, then you can live a miserable circumstance, and if nothing matters, then it doesn't really matter that your circumstances suck, does it? And therefore, how could something that doesn't matter to you make you unhappy? I think the fact is, though, it does matter to you. You could intellectually tell yourself, oh no, something doesn't matter. I'm unemployed, but that doesn't matter. You could tell yourself that, and you could say, well, you know what? The stars in the universe are still stars in the universe. Galaxies are still exploding. The sun is still unalive. You could tell yourself like weird things like that, but in the end, it still affects you. It still matters to you, actually. Like almost like your self esteem. It affects your perception of your own life, how you feel about your own life. It just does. And but if there was a way to genuinely convince yourself that things don't matter, then yeah, you could try. Go ahead and try that, and that should work. I just think that's not feasible in practical terms. It's never going to really happen where you convince yourself actually nothing matters. You could tell yourself something like, "Well, I'm complete no matter what. Nothing's missing from me, no matter how much I feel like devoid of this or that." But even that, I don't think you could really convince yourself of that. I think you're gonna feel like you want things. You're gonna want possessions, maybe not, but like maybe, but you'll still want something. Well, you may desire a girlfriend, but you may not. I think that one's more likely to happen where you don't really want a girlfriend. You might really always want a girlfriend, but then you may not. I think that's possible. Just like how you may not want a lot of money. How most people, it seems like the majority of people want to be rich. But I think it's definitely feasible to live a life where you just don't care about money that much. But the life where you have no needs whatsoever, I don't think that can ever happen. Where like no matter what, I'm complete. I could. Now, some people have actually managed to do things like that. I've heard. There's this one woman named Tenzin Palmo, I think her name was. She lived on a mountain for 12 years in seclusion just to meditate. And apparently, then she could feel complete and undesirous of things like that, just like that. And she could do it. Which is to show that I guess it really is possible in a way, right? But It's funny. I read her book, and she doesn't actually explain how she does it, which you would think she would be like her primary purpose, right? Explain exactly that the thought process that gets you to feel that way, because that's valuable. That could help depressed people for sure, but she doesn't. Either she's unaware, which is could be, she's unaware of how she does it. A lot of people are unaware of how they're happy. I think most people are happy. They're just unaware of how they are, or if they even are. I know when I was in college, I was happy, but I was unaware of it. It's funny. You're only really aware of how you feel when you're really miserable, I think. I think when you're miserable, you are acutely aware of how you feel. You're like, "Oh, I know I'm miserable. I know what happiness would be like now. I know it. I know I used to be happy as a child. I know my next door neighbors aren't happy because of the way they celebrate 4th of July, or the way they have friends over sometimes, or the way they come home from work and they have this, they don't look like they want to die. It's funny, huh? Like, you just don't want to die, and that's the proof that you're content enough. Whereas when you're miserable, you're like, I want to die. I wish I didn't live. I hate existence. That's how I feel. Extremely unhappy. I feel like miserable. I'm depressed, all right. I think it's psychological or circumstantial, and I don't know if pills could help fix me. Then again, I was depressed one time like 10 years ago. I thought the same things. I thought it was all circumstantial. It was all in my mind. And then I was prescribed Zoloft, and within a couple of days, I won't lie, I actually, one night, on like the second night after I took the pills, I remember it made me feel so high. It was definitely like a drug. It is a drug, but it was like a drug. You know what I mean? Like, it was like a drug. And I was like, oh my God, I felt so good. And this, I thought my unhappiness was due simply to my mind, or my psychology, my psyche, or my circumstances. And it was due to that, in fact. But the medications, it just overran. It just, what's the word? Like, short circuit. It went around that, and somehow it made my mind feel happy, which is amazing. I don't know how, I'll never know how that really happens, but rest assured that can happen. I've tried medication since then again, because I sank into depression again afterwards, but it never had the same effect. So I'm starting to lose hope in the medication. I've tried reading books, because I think, well, books are like a mental thing. The reading books is such a mental phenomenon. So I was like, I think, and you look at people who read books, and they seem like they have such satisfied minds. Like, the words fill their minds, as though their minds were a stomach that needs to be fed, and it's being fed by the sentences and the ideas, the thoughts expressed in the book. And yeah, so I felt like, yeah, that could help. I bet that would do it. I had the strong conviction, if I read books, I will be happy. And then I figured out how to read books, to actually unlock the enjoyment of it. Because most people, I think, get bored by books, and that's the problem. And that's why no one reads them. But once you can unlock the real enjoyment of it, then it's on, I guess. It's like you can really do it. Something they don't teach in school, by the way. What I figured out about books, they never taught me that in school. They certainly never emphasized it if they ever brought it up. But I had it for a second. I had it, and then I still started feeling like, what, this isn't gonna cut it though. It's not gonna make me feel good. I don't know how to explain that, but there's a chance I could still go back to reading. But in the end, when I read a book, I still feel like my life is empty though. I could read it, but all the while I feel an emptiness in my life circumstances. The overall theme of my life is still it's empty. It's just pointless. There's nothing meaningful in it. Reading a book is like, what's the big deal? Why should I ascribe value to it? What's the value in reading a book anyway? And maybe if I could answer that question for myself, I would be more inclined to read books. Because as it is now, I don't really understand why reading books is important anyway. What's the value in it? You're reading a story and like you're reading someone else's experiences, but why? What's the value in that? I don't understand the value in that. Tell me what the value is. I don't know. You could comment that if you want. But for me, it feels like you're just reading someone's experiences. And I'm kind of nihilistic and apathetic, but maybe very much so. So I'm the type of person who doesn't just, you just tell me, well, you could just learn about how it feels to be in X and Y situation, and that's the value of it. I feel like, well, I don't care about learning in another situation. Why? I see no intrinsic value in that. And I always turn it into some like apathetic, nihilistic type of perspective. I think I am a nihilist. I don't really believe in anything. I don't believe in right and wrong. I don't. I mean, I guess I do believe in God. I don't believe that ascribes meaning to anything. God is just a force in the world, and He created the world. That's kind of what I believe. I could be wrong, and I may change my mind at some point. It's what I believe at this point, but it doesn't really affect anything. I don't feel like life is more meaningful. I don't see why that would make life meaningful. Life is still nothing changes if that's true. I mean, if there's like some ultimate plan in heaven, which I'm not convinced that there is one because I don't see any reason for that yet. I don't see how that follows automatically, like for the just because God exists. I don't see how there's necessarily some plan or meaning in human life. It just means God exists. God's the reason that anything exists, and that's kind of it. Why does that mean you're meaningful? It doesn't to me. But I mean, I think the way to be happy is to have a mental life that's filled with satisfaction. I was thinking about books. I've been trying books. I've tried video games, musical instruments, music, podcasts, YouTube videos, puzzles, math, physics textbooks, movies, um, nonfiction books, to learn to become more educated, self help. I've tried what else? Sewing, knitting. I've tried a lot of activities to sort of give my mind satisfaction, but this none of it seems to work. None of it really provides satisfaction to me. And I don't know if that's ever gonna change. I mean, I'm just sort of stuck feeling like kind of feeling like I'll always have an unsatisfied mind, and I feel like that's really what the unhappiness is. The misery is having unsatisfied mind. Uh, and keep in mind, I'm not unsatisfied with my life or uncontent because I overthink or I have negative thoughts or I'm not confident or I have low self esteem or I'm negative. It's none of that kind of thing. It's like it's just quite simply I have no place to find satisfaction. I want to find satisfaction. My brother once asked me when I told him I'm depressed, and he said, "Well, what is it you want?" He said he texted me. I was like, "You know what I want? I want satisfaction." I don't even know if he understood what I meant. To be quite honest, it seems like such a general, basic answer that maybe he didn't even comprehend what I meant. But what I meant was I want to feel satisfaction. The satisfaction of doing a job that matters, or the satisfaction of doing an activity I care about, or the satisfaction of earning money, the satisfaction of paying my own bills to survive, the satisfaction of basic survival, I guess, is a big one. because I don't survive on my own. I survive because I have my parents to thank for that. And after that, I'm gonna survive because my brother's gonna take care of me. So I lack a lot of satisfaction. I want satisfaction. I think it's something most people take for granted. And for me, I'm gonna admit that I'll confess that when I was in college, I was deeply satisfied with the schoolwork that I had to do, the studying, and even satisfied with being around so many people. And but I was unaware. I was unaware of it. Only after I became miserable was I so aware of the fact that, I was very satisfied before in life. As a child, oh man, I was happy. In college and high school, even though I was a loner, I was satisfied with what school provided me. Deeply satisfied. I was very happy. And then I realized, but now I'm not happy. I'm miserable, in fact. And I came to understand the meaning of happiness. Um, and I genuinely think that to be happy, you need to satisfy your mind. And that can come from anything. Even though it doesn't happen for me, if you really enjoy playing video games, then playing video games can be happiness for you, and it's not a waste of time anymore. It's your way of being happy, and anything that makes you happy, I guess it's not really a waste of time then, is it? I mean, it could be even if for you watching video game walkthroughs is your source of enjoyment. If that's so, then I suppose doing that is not such a waste of time. Even though it sure seems like it is, right? Like while watching someone else play a video game, I'm not even playing the video game myself. But if that makes you feel better, then I guess that's it. That's the end of that. That's all that matters, right? I have nothing like that. I've tried a lot of things. My therapist told me you haven't even tried that much. I feel like she wasn't appreciating the fact that I've extended myself towards many areas. But maybe she's right. Maybe I haven't tried a lot of things yet. Like there's still so many other things to try. I guess that's always going to be true because you can never exhaust all the possibilities in life. It seems. Um, but I just want satisfaction, and that's my main. I think satisfaction and contentment and happiness. Those are all the. If you can achieve that in life, then feel free to live the rest of your life the way you want it, and it's fine. But the most fundamental level of your life should be your happiness. You can build upon that afterwards and build it into whatever you want. In a way, it's not saying the meaning of life is to be happy, but it's saying the first step in any meaningful life is happiness. Or you should always be trying to look out for that one goal. Because if you can figure that one goal out, then yeah, you're like I don't know what else. That's all you had in childhood. And no one regrets their childhood almost, right? You can't regret a life that's happy. Like whatever you did in your life after that fact that you're happy is okay. You won't regret it. Like if I just read books all day and then even if all I did after that was just sleep, I'd be like, hey, you know what? But while I was awake, I did what made me happy. What's the problem with that? I would say to myself, I can't think of one. It's all good if you can make yourself happy. And that makes a lot of sense to me. I think it makes sense to a lot of people. That if you're happy, then what else should you care about? You could care about all the other things after being happy, but you could stop there if you wanted to and not go the extra mile. And that'd be fine. What's the difference between a happy life unmarried, without kids, and a happy life that is married and with kids, Like they're both happy. You know what I mean? It's like they're equal. So if you just get happiness, that means that you could think of it like any life that's happy, the thing there's if you have 10 different lives, 10 different circumstances of happiness, each of these lives are filled with things in life that matter. And then you come along with the 11th person, and all he has is his happiness, but nothing else. You'd say to yourself that they're all equal then, because they all have that happiness. So happiness really is the common denominator in anything in a life that matters. And so that's all you should really care about. Nothing else has as great of an importance as that then, does it? Because it all boils down to that in a way, doesn't it? So yeah, I think happiness, that's what I'm looking for. If any of you guys have an idea to keep the mind satisfied, let me know because I want to know, what is it that you think can make a life satisfied and content? Um, I've tried a lot of things, tried a lot of things. None of it's worked though. And I'm not afraid to keep trying the same things over and over again, but looking at it with a different angle, a different lens. I think the way you look at something determines what it is for you. So I could look at a book and say it's my work of imagination, or I could say I look at a book and say it's an experience of humanity, or I could look at a book and say it's interesting story. And if you look at it in each of these different ways, the book becomes something different each time. I could look at it each of these different ways. I have. None of them seems to provide me the satisfaction I'm looking for. But if I'm willing to figure out another angle on a book to try it, and if that works out, then great. I won't. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm just trying the same stuff. I'm just trying to read books over and over again, and it never works. So why do I bother? I don't believe in looking at it like that. I believe in you could always find it. There's a way to find it. Anyways, I'm done with this spiel, this random rant. And this is my third video. Comment anything you like. I'll be waiting.